I don't, there we are. We are good. All right, hello and welcome to the 2022 Pueblo West Metro District Candidate Forum. My name is Ria Singh and I'm a sophomore here at Pueblo West High School. I'd like to begin tonight with a few thank yous. First, to our amazing student committee who has diligently worked to organize this event, both on and behind the scenes. A round of applause, please. Right. Our student moderators for today's event will be Chiebaka Onwuka, Dathan Montera, Jaden Inks, Katie Martinez, Yvonne Kozlov, Alora Decker, Abigail Shaver, Haley Ragath, Leia Johnson, and Alara Johnson. We would also like to thank Mrs. Erickson, our wonderful AP US government teacher. Orchestrating this event would not be possible without her. Round of applause, please. Also, a thank you to the school staff as a whole for assisting with the organization of this event and all of the event details. Lastly, thank you to all of our candidates for their participation today. A round of applause. Pueblo West High School has a tradition of providing this candidate forum prior to elections to increase civic engagement and hopefully voter turnout. Rather than to debate and compare platforms, candidates are here today to respectfully educate the community on this year's candidates. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to answer each question, with the exception of the last question, where each candidate will provide their 1 minute answer, followed by an additional minute for a closing statement. Candidates, for your convenience, we will have a timekeeper at the back of the audience. Mary Oswald and Christian Murray will be our timekeepers. Please wave. Right, and they will hold up a green sign when you may begin your minute, a yellow sign when you have 10 seconds remaining, and finally a red sign with a verbal stop when your time is up. Tonight, we expect the forum to last about an hour and a half, and we have randomized the order of the candidates for each question to maintain the impartiality of our forum. Please hold any further applause until the end of the forum. The questions today will cover community-based areas of interest, such as emergency services and infrastructure, economic development, water, recreation, and environment. Candidates, for your convenience, the questions are listed on the agenda before you. We will read each question once at the beginning and again after the fourth candidate has answered said question. Once again, thank you for joining us today. I will now hand it over to Chiebaka Onwuka to begin the forum.
Huge thank you to Ria Singh. Today we will begin with a 1 minute introduction from each candidate. Please briefly tell us about yourself and your motivation to run. Our first candidate introduction will be from Nick Madero. Candidate Madero, are you ready?
Yes. Is this thing on? Good. I want to thank everybody, Pueblo West students and staff, for this opportunity and putting this forum together. My name's Nick Madero, and I stand for God, family, and country. I married my best friend, my wife Angela, and we have 4 beautiful children together, Alexis, Alyssa, Nikki, and Nicholas. We own and operate a business here in Pueblo West since 2014. We've lived here since 2009. We love this community, we love giving back to this community, and we love being involved in the community. I will work hard if given this opportunity, I will work hard and emphasize integrity, honesty, and transparency, making myself available to everybody in the community. The time for blame games and pointing fingers needs to stop. It's time for accountability and finding solutions for this community. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Candidate Madero. Next up, we'll hear from Joe Mahaney. Candidate Mahaney, are you ready?
I'm Joe Mahaney. I spent most of my adult working life out at CF&I. I was a civil engineer. I specialized in water and water resources. I've become interested in Pueblo West in addition to living out here for 26 years because of the water system. The quality of it is so much better than where we lived out in the county, and I want to help maintain that water system.
All right, thank you, Candidate Mahaney. Next up, we'll hear from Matt Smith. Candidate Smith, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All
Yeah, hey, thank you, everybody. My name is Matt Smith. For those that don't know me, I am super proud of this community. I am a Pueblo West Metropolitan District right now. Thanks for you guys putting this on tonight. First and foremost, thank you guys. This is a lot of work, and I appreciate everybody. I appreciate the audience, and I appreciate all this passion right here in Pueblo West. So thank you guys. Not a clap yet. But I'm a father of 3 children, Parker, Paisley, and Preston. I'm married to my soulmate. I live here in this amazing community of Pueblo West. I currently own Snap Fitness out here in Pueblo West. I own Snooze Mattress Company out here. I've owned over 10 businesses in this community, and I'm a very Pueblo proud, passionate person. Snooze Mattress Store is going nationwide. That we started here in Pueblo West. We're growing all over the nation. I love job creation. I love watching things grow. My top priorities in this community is gaining water so we can continue to grow. An aquatic center, we absolutely deserve that as a community center. Growing this amazing community to its full potential, Pueblo West deserves to know more about who we are, creating jobs, creating things for us to do, from restaurants and parks and whatever it is out there, and getting roads back and running. I love this community. I'll do whatever it takes to win. My name is Matt Smith, and I am running here for Pueblo West Metro, and thank you guys for having us.
All right, thank you.
Was I? Oh.
Yeah. All right, thank you, Candidate Smith. Next up, we'll hear from Ryan Siebold. Candidate Siebold, are you ready?
Can you hear me? Oh, there we go. Hey, my name is Ryan Siebold, owner and operator of Big Bear Wine and Liquor here in Pueblo and Pueblo West. So probably seen some of our smiling faces out in the crowd, but I just want to say thank you to the Pueblo West students and staff, my family for being here. Thank you guys for putting all this on tonight. I'm a proud Puebloan. I grew up in Alamosa, but as a kid, I always wanted to live in Pueblo West. It was one of the cool cities to come to, and I can't wait to be a part of the Metro District and helping it grow in the right direction.
All right, thank you, Candidate Siebold. Next up, we'll hear from Julia Oliver. Candidate Oliver, are you ready?
I am. Good evening, everyone. I'm Julia. Most people that are close to me call me Jules. I am not a Colorado native. However, I have lived in Pueblo West a little over 10 years, here in Pueblo, almost 12. So even though I'm not a native, I definitely love this community, and I definitely want to see it thrive. I'm a business owner here. I'm a wife and a mother. And I've been asked a couple of times if I have any agenda, and the short answer is no. I just want the very best for my business, my community, my family. I've been very actively involved, especially serving as an ambassador here with the local chamber. I've met a lot of great people that have a lot of concerns about the growth of our community. And the reality is that we're going to continue to grow. So for all the same reasons that brought all of us out to Pueblo West. And we need to do that very smartly. We need to think about how we're going to move forward. And that is, once I'm elected, going to be my primary goal.
All right, thank you, Candidate Oliver. Next up, we'll hear from Gregory Roberts. Candidate Roberts, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, thank you. Please begin.
I'm Greg Roberts, 2008. Me and my wife moved here from Penrose. In August of 2018, we moved down to Las Cruces, New Mexico. January 26, we purchased a home back here again in 2021. And in May, we completed our move. We have 5 kids that we've raised in the Fremont and Pueblo County. I have served my country for a little under 10 years. I have served my community with 23 and a half years of prison work with the Federal Bureau of Prisons. In all, I have 33 and a half years of federal employment. I've worked for government. I don't like politics, but we have to fix things. I'm for God, duty, honor, country, and serving the community. I own my own home-based business, Roberts Pro Services Home Inspections, and I just want to do the best for the community. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next up, we have Michael Douglas. Are you ready, Candidate Douglas?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Please begin.
My name is Michael Douglas. I'm married, have been for 38 years, to my lovely wife. We have 3 beautiful children, grown, and 3 absolutely adorable grandchildren. I've lived in Pueblo West for approximately 10 years. I'm a retired Assistant Chief United States Border Patrol agent. I was there for 24 years and doing the regular duties as an agent. But as I rose in rank, I was given responsibility doing administrative duties such as personnel, facilities, and budgeting. I'm a graduate of Southwest Baptist University with a degree in religion and with psychology and sociology. I believe in hard work accompanied with integrity. And as a Border Patrol agent, our motto was honor first. And I've tried to carry that motto throughout my career as well as my personal life. And I would like to continue to carry that out here serving this community.
All right, thank you. That will be it for our candidate introductions.
We will begin with our first question. The first question will be answered by Michael Douglas, candidate Michael Douglas. The question is, Pueblo West has 1,201 miles of road to maintain. How will you make sure that the road maintenance is both a financial investment and a safety priority?
It's my understanding that the road maintenance has been turned over to Pueblo County, although there are a few roads that are still under the purview of Pueblo West. And when we think about roads, we tend to talk about the paved roads. But as we know, Pueblo West has quite a bit of gravel and dirt roads within the community. I think a huge part of that system is taking care of those roads and allowing the funds that are used at this point to be used on the paved roads. I think the damage to the roads, the gravel roads and everything can be handled by a lot of education on how to drive on gravel roads and stop preventing the damage. And I think a lot of it is high-speed travel. But if we can take care of that, then we can help with the emergency service and damage to our own vehicles.
All right, and so just because of unexpected scheduling changes, I think we're going to go ahead and change the schedule to allow each candidate 2 minutes to answer each question. So if you would like another question or another minute to answer that question, you can, or we can move on.
But once again, I think with the washboarding and these dirt and gravel roads that we have, those can be prevented if people know how to drive on those roads. So I think education and getting that information out there to prevent that from happening, as well as ways of slowing people down on those roads, will also prevent that damage. And instead of having crews coming out repairing the gravel roads, they can take that time to fill the potholes and repair the paved roads.
Thank you, Mr. Douglas. And so just to reiterate for our audience, our candidates, and our timekeepers, each candidate will now be allowed 2 minutes to answer each question. So our next candidate answering this question is candidate Smith. The mic is yours.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I believe that after years and years and years out here in Pueblo West, we've really tried to solve that problem in our term here. But more people are moving to Pueblo West and less money has come to Pueblo West. So many people don't understand behind the scenes what goes on those roads and how to fix that. But the Pueblo West this year, I'm proud to say that the current board has given the road back to the city of Pueblo, and they will be taking them over. Pueblo has the budget, they have the equipment, and they really can help us. And I think that everybody will see a lot of momentum going forward on the roads and on the the challenge that we have with fixing these roads.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. The next candidate to answer this question is candidate Oliver. The mic is yours.
Is this on? Okay. So this was an interesting question to me. I had read on the Pueblo West Metro District's website that we actually, here in Pueblo West, only have 400 miles of roads. 1,201 actually applies to the entire county. 500 of that, of course, is the city. The city is responsible for their own roads. That's still a considerable amount of roads. And like candidate Smith mentioned, that has actually been voted on by the current board to be transferred over through a transition to be handled by the county itself, the remaining roads that are here. And proper road maintenance is critical, absolutely, but it is also a huge financial burden that could really severely hinder a small district's viability. I've never worked on a road crew, so I did some research. And one of the things that I came up with was that there's national reports that estimate that maintaining a mile of road is about $18,000 on paved roads and about $8,000 for gravel roads. Well, quick math shows that this quickly becomes an enormous number for us to handle. So the decision to turn over Pueblo West Road to the county really was a very viable option. In the meantime, for some of the remaining roads, looking at our current budget, understanding how we can help our citizens to report some of the worst roads so that those can be addressed and fixed, I think has also got to be a priority.
Thank you, candidate Oliver. And just to reiterate, our question is, how will you make sure that road maintenance is both a financial investment and safety priority? Our next candidate to be answering this question will be candidate Roberts. The mic is yours.
Okay, so in about, let's see, what was it, 1978, there was a memorandum of understanding between the county and the Metro District that if we were to turn over the roads to Pueblo County, they have 5 years to assume that responsibility. We don't know how long they're going to drag their feet, okay? So I don't want to give you like it's going to happen tomorrow scenario, but I don't want to discourage you at the same time. The conditions of the dirt roads is a lot attributed to the type of vehicles who are driving too fast on those roads and the suspension on those vehicles. The washboarding is terrible, and to repair that takes hours of road grading. Those man hours could be spent somewhere else. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Roberts. The next person to answer this question is candidate Madero. Madero, the mic is yours.
Check it this time. And I'm not going to stand up this time, everybody. Roads is the #1 complaint that I get from citizens in Pueblo West. And I know that there's an IGA for the county to take back over the roads, but for the meantime, I think we need to focus on fixing what we have. I spoke with some roads workers who told me that there was a shortage of staff. And I have no problem going out there and volunteering and helping if we have to get the roads fixed. Let's not wait till the county takes over. Let's go ahead and just fix what we have and keep moving forward. We need to stop thinking that the roads are an expense and start thinking that it's an investment. It's an investment for our community, and it's also a safety issue.
All right, thank you, candidate Madero. Our next candidate to be answering this question is candidate Siebold. The mic is yours.
Thank you. I would tend to agree with candidate Madero. We can't just forget about the fact that we do have roads still out here that every single one of us drive on. We can't forget about the fact that it may take time for the county to take care of those roads. So in the meantime, I do believe that we should go piece by piece, take a look at some of the most major roads and figure out what those issues might be. It's a national problem. Infrastructure in general is a national problem, and it's something that in a small scale, we all have to make sure that we're doing what's right for that. I do think that we need to make sure that we're looking at the extension of Joe Martinez and how it's going to impact that neighborhood, because it will significantly impact the number of vehicles that go into that part of the county. Lastly, I'd like to partner with the sheriff, make sure that we're patrolling those new areas, but also looking at what kind of patrolling that we can do better at, especially around the speeding on those major roads.
Thank you for your answer, candidate Siebold. The next candidate to answer this question and final candidate for question number 1 will be candidate Mahaney. Mr. Mahaney, the mic is yours.
I was confused when I read the question. I thought at first it was a gotcha question because the 1,200 miles is county-owned roads, not the 400 that are out in Pueblo West or the 50 that are still in limbo and that nobody claims and nobody wants to deal with. I might remind the public that we are a democratic republic. We elect people and they make decisions. Past boards have changed the budgeting system from departmental budgeting to priority budgeting. They get to choose the priority. So we have 3 people that can decide how the money is spent. They decided it was in the best interest to turn the roads back over to the county. And I don't know what they're going to do with the 50 that's out there. But keep in mind, when you elect somebody, you might keep in mind what they decided in the past and how that agrees with how you feel things should be done.
Thank you, candidate Mahaney. We will now be moving on to our next question.
Hello, candidates. Now our second question, the first candidate to respond will be Gregory Roberts. Second question, as a developing community, how can we entice businesses to bring jobs with higher earning potential to Pueblo West? Are you ready? Your minute begins now.
I'm ready. First of all, I think we need to have a committee to market Pueblo West to other businesses. The only way they're going to know Pueblo West exists and what type of community we have and the financial resources for people to spend their money in their businesses and to create those jobs is to present them with a marketing strategy. And with that, we can build on the future of Pueblo West. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Roberts. Next, we will have candidate Mahaney.
I think the best thing we can do is accept the kind of a community that Pueblo West is. It's very attractive if you like low-density, casual communities with a low cost of living index. We should market toward that and try to get companies to move here. The climate is such that companies tend to look at how much money the community will pay them to move there. It's going to be a difficult thing to attract that magical company that pays $40 an hour to sit behind a desk. I don't see that happening, but we do have some people that are running their own business out of their home, which I think is fine. The main thing we need to do is concentrate on how we're going to live with the growth that we seem to be experiencing without attracting anything else.
Thank you, candidate Mahaney. Now we will hear from candidate Smith.
This thing on, okay. Yeah, I truly believe this is why I wake up every day. This was why I was elected in the first term and what gets me excited every single morning. I've owned several businesses in this community of Pueblo West. I currently am expanding nationwide with Snooze Mattress Company. We are now a franchise going all over the country that started here in this beautiful community of Pueblo West. I'm all about creating jobs, but I'm all about creating careers as well. People that want to be sustainable, that will move here for a career, not just for a short-term job. I was recently on a national television show, and my entire agenda was how do we promote this amazing community and tell the world how special that we are. With franchises all over these companies, I've brought people from all over the world to Pueblo West and Pueblo. Next week, we have people from New York, we have people from Texas that are now expanding snoozes all over the nation that'll be in our community, and they'll be supporting all of our local businesses. I also think that we need to 100% focus on being proactive versus reactive. The potential companies being in Pueblo West, in our amazing community, need to see what we have to offer. There is so much going up north, like In-N-Out Burger, and like so many different things that when they're opening out there, we need to be a little bit more proactive in calling these folks and seeing what we can do out there to help them come and see how special this community is. So I would 100% seek how do we be proactive in finding the right people that would fit our community and tell the world how special this community is.
Thank you, Candidate Smith. I will be restating the question once more. As a developing community, how can we entice businesses to bring jobs with higher earning potential to Pueblo West? We will be hearing from Candidate Douglas. The mic is yours.
That's okay. I think one of the things that we can do is with the aquatic center and event centers coming in, I think we use those centers and recreational activities to help draw in new restaurants and shops, as well as other type of businesses into the area. I think on the north side of Highway 50 here in Pueblo West, we have lots of land out there, and I think that we can use that and open it up to try to get more business to make it more convenient for those in the farther north communities. I think we also need to just look at our recreational activities as a way of drawing in more businesses, because if we have the recreation and we have the people out there participating, they're also going to be able to shop and to eat and to have various types of activities at the same time. Granted, the water is a limiting factor for many businesses, so I think we need to look for businesses in which will not be water intensive as far as the use, because that will make a huge problem for Pueblo West.
Thank you, Candidate Douglas. We will now hear from Nick Madero.
There it is. We need to look at the types of businesses that can contribute and do what we can to have them want to invest in this community, jobs, and also stimulating the local economy. We have a great community here in Pueblo West, and with smart growth, we can attract businesses that can be lucrative for the business and for the community. And that was my answer.
Thank you, Candidate Madero. Next, we will be hearing from Candidate Oliver. The mic is yours.
Well, one thing we need to do is seek out and then develop collaborative relationships with these businesses, specifically those that are more technical and specialized companies, because these are the companies that are looking for more skilled and success-driven workforce to draw from, and that in itself means a higher paying job as the result. As a community, one of the things that I think we need to focus on too is helping our young people to not only obtain good education, life skills, but also strong work ethics, so that when those companies come, they're looking and they're finding that highly skilled labor force that's available right here within our company. And that in turn is going to have a ripple effect and bring in more businesses as well.
Thank you, Candidate Oliver. We will now hear from Candidate Siebold.
Thank you. On this question, I think that my family and I have really tried to jump in with Pueblo West. We're developers. We're trying to develop different pieces of property throughout. But one of the biggest things that we do need to look at is the acceptance of our community for development. We've ran out bigger companies like distribution center from Walmart, which could have potentially been thousands of jobs. We have to look and make sure that the companies that we are bringing in are doing their part as far as giving back to the community and doing that. We can't just focus on high-paying jobs. My company, Big Bear, currently employs 40-plus employees, college kids, even kids within the community here, high school. We have to make sure that we're, again, trying to make them better employees for long term. We're in a unique situation where our education system in the D70 is much better than what we have in town. And when large corporations come and look, it's one of the first things that they do look at. Is your education system strong? And luckily for us in Pueblo West, we have a very strong education system.
Thank you, Candidate Siebel. We will now be moving on to our third question.
Thank you. Along with other surrounding communities, Pueblo West is currently experiencing a water shortage. How do you propose Pueblo West should address water availability and shortages for both the long and short term? We will start with candidate Mahaney. Are you ready?
Yeah, this is my favorite question of all of them. I've been in water all my life and whatnot. All the surrounding communities are not short of water. The Pueblo Board of Water Works has an abundance of water. They've overbought and they're now leasing water to us as many other people. Our water people out here have done a fantastic job of supplying water and getting all the water that we need. The sad part about it is in past years, the water enterprise was used as a cash cow, and they didn't allow the money that they made by selling water to you and I and everybody else that waters their lawn and flushes their toilet. Instead, they moved that water into, or that money into other uses. All we have to do is let them be an independent operation. They can supply all the water the growth will handle. The problem we're going to have real quickly is how quick are they able to treat everything in a hot summer day when people are watering their lawn in the daytime instead of at night. The water people, if they can handle that, they can figure out ways to get us to use less water at a non-peak time during usage. Our water system is specifically happy. It's too bad that they provided bottled water for us because we have some of the best water in the state of Colorado right in our tap.
All right, thank you, candidate.
What the community needs in the long term for a sustainable solution. And my goal as a board member is really to ensure that the sustainability of our community isn't just, it's in all aspects of our life, and water availability being one of that. Once elected, what I intend to do is really to work with our water, the people, the water department, and really work with them so that we continue to monitor this, not just let it go for years where all of a sudden it is a situation where we're having to take a long pause, but continually having a strategy in place for that, as well as looking into other areas where we can secure more water rights that are going to help continue to sustain our growth.
All right, thank you, candidate Oliver. Next, we are going to hear from candidate Siebold.
Hello? There we go. Man, water, it's a hot topic. Within the last month, we went from having water taps readily available to just being cut off by certain current board members. We have to make sure that when we do that kind of thing, that we're being strategic about growth, that we're making sure that large developers aren't coming in and buying large amounts of water tops all at once. The community grew faster than what we expected it to grow. So we as a board got to make sure that we're doing a better job of how we go about handing out those water taps, making sure that the developments that are happening are actually using what they're actually paying for. Take, for instance, my business. We have a 1-inch water line, which I'm sure is calculated by a certain amount of water that was supposed to be used, but when you have one toilet and a couple sinks, it's certainly not a 1-inch water line supply of water. You could fill up a whole entire swimming pool with the amount of water that we should have been used. So I think we need to take a look at that and make sure that the actual true water tap use that has been already put out, that we develop a plan and figure out what actually we're using. Lastly, I would say that we should try developing a regional water department or even a water department here in Pueblo West so that we can have a hands-on approach with water taps in the future.
Thank you, candidate Siebold. I'm going to repeat the question. Along with other surrounding communities, Pueblo West is currently experiencing a water shortage. How do you propose Pueblo West should address water availability and shortages for both the long and short term? The mic is yours, candidate Madero.
Water's been an issue for a long time. While I applaud the current board for making some progress, we should be looking at long-term solutions. Perhaps we can partner with the Pueblo Board of Waterworks for a long-term solution. Blaming past boards accomplishes nothing. We need to take accountability and move forward finding those solutions. We can look at ways of conserving water and maybe give classes and information out to the public on water conservation. Raising prices on water doesn't create more water. Let's be smart with growth and look at the solutions for Pueblo West while conserving the water that we do have.
Thank you, candidate Madero. Next, we're going to have candidate Douglas. The mic is yours.
With our location here in Pueblo West, I know we're up under Pueblo and the leasing in which they provide for us. But I think we need to look outside of Pueblo West to secure water rights. And there's areas right outside of Pueblo West where you can drill wells. So my proposal would be that we look into that and see about securing those water rights, not just for the residential areas, but for business areas and the future businesses coming into Pueblo West. If we free up the water that we have here now and use that for residential and future residential growth, and look at the rights outside of Pueblo West that we can try to secure and use that for the business use and those coming into the Pueblo West. Once again, as Ryan had said, lines too big for the business in which they have. Businesses that are not so dependent upon water can get by with much less. So if we have water rights outside of Pueblo West, that can provide for those businesses. And once again, Pueblo West is going to continue to grow residentially as well as with activities. So we can use the water that we have for those things.
Thank you, candidate Douglas. Next, we're going to have candidate Roberts. The mic is yours.
Ready? Yeah, okay, good. In 2002, we experienced one of our worst droughts historically. I lived in Penrose. At that time, I became aware of what the problem was, not only in Penrose, but Pueblo and everywhere else. So in Penrose, we have Brush Hollow. Brush Hollow feeds off of Beaver Creek. Halfway up Phantom Canyon Road to Skagway Reservoir is an old dam that's in disrepair. And all of a sudden, they wanted at the last minute fix the dam and then deepen it for storage. I think we're on the right track with the Brewer Farm purchase. I don't know how many acre feet it can hold. Right now, it's zoned agricultural water. It's going to take a little legal finagling, and I don't know how long that's going to take to get that put as usable potable water for Pueblo West. But we're not looking at a pipeline. We're looking at swapping with somebody who has shares further down the line who actually has historic shares further up the line. So basically, we're not setting a trap. We just put the bait on there, and there are people actually that want to do that. If we can store the water there and then provide it with them, provide them with that water, and then we can take their share as it comes downstream to Pueblo Reservoir. And I think drilling and establishing a wells, I have the I was fortunate to live in Las Cruces for 3 years, and down there they have over 17 wells, and then they have 5 that are owned by Moongate Water that are private, and they have those watersheds where they can store that stuff, and they supply the whole city and the county, okay, in the rural areas and the suburbs, I mean not the rural areas, the suburbs of Las Cruces with water stored. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Roberts. Now we'll have Candidate Smith, the mic is yours.
Yeah, water, I will tell you, 4 years ago when I joined this board, I thought, hey, there's a big reservoir right here. What do you mean we don't have water? And I wouldn't have known that until probably 4 months ago, until I realized that there was a major shortage here. I have to put my hat off to the team that we currently have, Brian and his amazing team. There's a lot going on there, but they've done an amazing job with what we have. We will address this in the next few meetings. Water is a huge issue. Our current Pueblo West teams, as I said, have done an amazing job. But it's an issue because we have done a horrible job planning for our future. As Nick said over there, it's not just about now, it's about how we can do it in the future. The Board of Waterworks has done an amazing job. We need to mimic off of what they're doing. Is not a short-term plan, not a this week, not a sell a couple houses plan, but how do we get to our growth potential? And what do we got to do to reverse engineer this? We have the money here to buy water. There is water out there to buy. My goal 100% this term is to make water a top priority in everything that we do and get us to the build out that we want, whatever plan that really is. But in the short term, we have a lot of wins. There's a lot of things that we'll be discussing in the short time right now. But 100% our priority has to be, how do we get more water? Water equals growth and prosperity in Pueblo West, and we have too much special things happening in our community to not figure out something like this. There's water out there, there's money available. Let's just make it a top priority.
Thank you, Candidate Smith. We will now be moving on to the next question.
Okay, hello candidates. So the next question is about activities here in Pueblo West. So the Parks and Rec Department offers many activities, sports, events, and other things to the community. As a candidate and resident, what would you like to see added that would benefit our citizens? And how would you address the growing need for recreational activities for residents of all ages? Our first candidate will be candidate Oliver.
So we do have a lot of great things here. We got a lot of hiking trails, we've got some great parks, we've got a lot of exciting things happening. But I love this question because I thought about when I've lived in a larger city and we had a community garden, and that is something that I would love to see here. Not only does it foster a sense of community, but it actually helps to educate our citizens about where their produce comes from, and it helps us to not be so reliant on businesses outside of our community. In addition to the education and the sense of community, it actually has a recreational aspect as well, because there's studies that have proven that gardening helps reduce numerous health issues, depression, anxiety, and it increases activity levels and the overall quality of life. Another huge benefit is that any excess produce could be given to local families that are in need. I'd also love to see a lot of the community activities that we do have with better support, like Oktoberfest. I think that goes a long way with educating our citizens on what's going on and encouraging them to join us.
I don't know. Oh, yeah, it's on. Okay. Thank you to candidate Oliver. Our next person that we'll hear from is candidate Madero.
Our Parks Department should be one of the top priorities. Well, it is for me. Why? Because the youth of Pueblo West are the future. Activities for the youth, there's 12 and under and there's adults. But what about 13 to 17-year-olds? That's something that we need to look at. I've spoken with a few community members, and some of them had some great ideas. Everybody knows if you live in Pueblo West, there's a lot of wind. Why not do an annual kite festival? We should bridge the gap between Metro and the community by maybe doing an annual picnic with softball game between Metro and the community. We need to get back to normal, and we need to have our annual wet parade. The future of Pueblo West is the youth, and I believe this so much, and I believe in the parks and what they do for this community, that any salary given to me, being a board member, will be donated directly to the Parks and Rec.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Madero. Our next candidate is candidate Smith.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think as candidate Oliver said, I think Carol and the Parks and Recs have done an unbelievable job out here to get us. I hear stories all the time of people coming from all over Colorado to our trails out here. So that's been amazing. But anybody that's on the board or that has heard me on the board, my top priority, everybody that knows me, is I can't beat a dead horse about this aquatic center. We are so close. But this aquatic center is not just a pool. This will not only bring an amazing place for families, but it'll bring people together. Have safety for our children that are driving from Pueblo West all the way to the county to swim. Our community deserves the aquatic center, but it'll impact the businesses and the growth. We'll attract more jobs, more homeowners, and give people and businesses a reason to move out to our amazing community of Pueblo West. Every successful community has a center of some kind where everybody can come to and they can all congregate and meet each other. We need that here in Pueblo West, and we deserve that here in Pueblo West. I would also really love to see more parks to practice sports and to play out here. We deserve a couple more parks. Our community of parks in Pueblo West versus how many parks are in Pueblo, there is no doubt we deserve more parks out here, and we need to make that a priority. I've got 3 amazing children that are 3 years old, 6 years old, and 7 years old. So if there's any priority for me, it is building and developing a better future for our children. So we need to make sure this is a priority and that we bring people to Pueblo West instead of Pueblo West going somewhere else to help support those parks and those rec centers and those aquatic centers. Pueblo West is better than that.
All right, thank you. Wow. Sorry about that. Thank you, candidate Smith. I will repeat the question. The Parks and Recreation Department offers many activities, sports, events, etc. to the community. As a candidate and a resident, what would you like to see added that would benefit our citizens? And how would you address the growing need for recreational activities for residents of all ages? And the next person we'll hear from is Joseph Maheny. Candidate Maheny, the mic is yours.
Well, it all comes down to how much is we're willing to pay for. We, several years ago, had a 3-for-3 referendum to raise the mill levy, 3 mills to put in 3 new parks. It was defeated 2-1. We just talked about our water problem, and we said we need to make that #1 priority. Prior to that, we've been milking the water system income to go to other priorities. Where are we going to quit deciding everything has to have a priority? Sooner or later, you have to come up with where do you spend the money and where do you not spend the money. I think we would do well to get in bed, if you will, with District 70 in Pueblo County and build a swimming pool near the high school that could be jointly funded and jointly used by District 70 and Pueblo West. And it should be something practical like the one out at County High, something that maybe the taxpayers would be willing to fund. So far, they aren't willing to fund all of these projects without a huge raise in taxes. So somewhere, people are going to have to decide, what do we do? Where do we spend the money?
Thank you, Candidate Maheny. Candidate Roberts, the mic is yours.
Okay, so like I said, I was very fortunate to spend 3 years down in Las Cruces. Down there, they got 4 aquatic parks. New Mexico's a poor state, okay? But they also have 8 roadside parks all the way down on I-25, starting at Raton to Las Cruces. So they're doing something right with their budget. They have a huge complex in Las Cruces. It's got 9 ball fields. It's got 6 football fields. It's amazing. And then almost every community has a little park for every 100 homes. So it's all about planning. It's all about getting the money. Maybe we could have a committee developed here in Pueblo West and start a GoFund committee for the Parks and Recreation. We're able to do GoFunds and help people out in time of need. If the community would like to do that, I would like to usher that to you. And money doesn't grow on trees. And so with that, it's all about a budget and then trying to get that extra money. And then maybe there's some grants out there that we need to be looking at that we can get something, okay? And partner with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Roberts. Candidate Douglas, the mic is yours.
Once again, on the north side of Highway 50, there's a lot of open spaces. And I would propose that we use those open spaces. We already have horse trails out there. We have walking trails out there. But one thing that we don't have are ATV trails out there. I would propose a low-speed ATV trail for recreational vehicles, for families, young families, to be able to take their children out, teach them how to ride ATVs safely without being run into by people just flying by. I think it would also be beneficial to the elderly community who are stuck in their homes, who don't get out to the more difficult trails. Get them out into the fresh air, get them out into the sunshine, and out of their houses, more importantly. I think if we had those trails for ATVs, UTVs, for golf carts, to be able to just enjoy the environment, it would be a great way to showcase nature out there. We normally have, once again, we have walking trails, we have all these other activities for people to get out, but nothing for the ATV community. Once these, the families bring their kids out and they teach them how to ride, they can go out and they can ride the more advanced trails and have that type of fun. But we need something for the younger kids to be able to get out that's not going to use our water. It's not going to use the electricity, all those different things. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Douglas. Candidate Saybold, the mic is yours.
Thank you. The youth are one of my biggest passions. I currently serve on the Runyon Sports Complex and board, and I'm currently the president there. We have over 130 teams that play down there, but we have very few baseball fields or any sort of parks that kids can use out in Pueblo West. The amount of teams that we actually have come from Pueblo West and play at Runyon has been phenomenal, but they have nowhere to go. We have nowhere to practice. My son and I were on a team that was now going to be representing Pueblo West in Cooperstown, New York this coming summer. And what a better way for our youth to go and experience these great things, to travel across the country and represent Pueblo West. I would press the developer of the sports complex that's had a sign up on McCulloch for a long period of time. Where are we going? What are we doing with it? If you're promising to be a part of this community, then let's get it going. Last thing with the aquatic center, we need to make sure that when we do open that, what's the role? What are the classes? What are the things that particular center can bring for the community? And the other thing I would say is let's bring a baseball complex that's just all turf. No water would ever be used for that, so we wouldn't have to worry about the water issues. The amount of income, economic income that we could have from a large complex would service tons of our businesses here out in Pueblo West and would provide a better place for our youth to play.
Okay, thank you. We will be going on to the next question.
For our final question, we would like to invite the candidates to take an additional minute after their answer to make a closing statement. For the question, how would you address the issue of recycling and waste management in Pueblo West in order to reduce Pueblo West's environmental impact? For our first candidate, Madero, the mic.
Thank you. We need to be diligent in recycling. The only thing is there's no recycling center here. There's nowhere that I found anyway. Let's look at ways we can do that. We need to, recycling can actually bring revenue into the community, and we need to look at ways to do that. Once again, I'm emphasizing the youth by maybe the parks taking over that. Let's make our community clean and conscientious of future impacts that will happen if we don't get involved and do something now. Let's get community involvement and do more community cleanup days, and let's show everybody how proud we are of a clean and beautiful Pueblo West. My closing statement, I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. I want to thank Pueblo West High School students and staff for putting this forum together. I'm not chasing accolades, titles, or have any self-interest. My interest is to be a voice for everyone in this community. I can promise you transparency, integrity, and accountability. I have no problem standing up for what's right, even if I'm standing up alone. If you're content with the way things are going, then don't vote for me. But if you want what's best for this community, then I hope I can earn your vote on May 3rd and allow me the pleasure of being your voice. Anyone that's elected needs to understand that they work for you, not the other way around. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you. For our next candidate, candidate Mahaney, the mic is yours.
I think the thing we need to do is go back to the original service plan that was developed when Pueblo West was written by McCulloch. Part of that plan was to treat the wastewater, instead of dumping it, spending a lot of money to dump it into the river, treat the wastewater and use it to irrigate golf course and parks and things. Currently, about 8% of the water that we get is used on the golf courses. Now, granted, you get into the details, that water that we dump in the river after we spend thousands of dollars to treat it to meet industry standards, goes down Wild Horse Creek, and we're either going to build a pipeline to save some of the losses, or when it gets down to the river, then we have to let it go through the city of Pueblo so the people can recreate with their kayaks down there, and we end up getting the water down in Otero County, and it doesn't do us any good. It goes into Lake Henry, and it doesn't do us any good when we really need it in the summertime. We have to wait till fall to transfer it by paper back up into Pueblo Reservoir. So if we build a special pipeline and bring it back up to irrigate the parks and the golf course, we won't have to treat it as much. It would still be sanitary. A lot of communities are doing that. We could become a zero discharge community. We could also put in a composting facility down at the wastewater. Currently, our biosolids, we pay a guy to haul them all the way out to Boone and dump them on the ground. We could make compost out of that and grind up the leaves and branches and tumbleweeds and things that this community generates that we have to pay somebody to haul off. It could actually be a cost-effective business. Probably wouldn't be a profitable thing, but it would be far more cost-effective than what we're doing now. In closing, my thoughts are our biggest problem apparently right now is source water and how we use that water. We've got very capable people in the water enterprise and the wastewater enterprise that know what to do, but unfortunately we've tied their hands and made them submit to overmanagement and diversion of water or money into other facilities. Granted, some people want a park, some people want a golf course, and we have a golf course, and we haven't paid for it yet. And it costs us, so far the golf course, if you look at their bill, if you could see it, they owe us over $2 million in back water charges that they haven't paid. And it's a joint venture with the county.
Thank you. Our third response will be from candidate Oliver. The mic is yours.
So regarding the recycling and waste management, I think really the key is going to lies in community involvement and community education. I look around and there's just a lot of ways that we as a community could work on lessening our environmental footprint. I would encourage everyone to look not so much for recyclable items, but reusable items. And when we see things that are being dumped on the side of the road or in our own backyards, that we're willing to act to kind of stop that destruction, do everything that we can in our, to help keep Pueblo West clean, having community cleanup days. Those types of things are going to help our neighborhood that we all love. And we each have a responsibility in protecting our natural resources. On a closing note, I just want to thank Ms. Erickson and the whole, all of the students. You've done an excellent job. Our youth are definitely our future. I'm very proud of all of you. Having children your age and older, it's extremely encouraging to see that as we continue, we're leaving the future in good hands. Well thought out questions, very mature people. So thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Oliver. I would like to restate the question for the following candidates. How would you address the issue of recycling and waste management in Pueblo West in order to reduce Pueblo West's environmental impact? I would also like to reiterate that each candidate will have an additional minute after their response for a closing statement. Candidate Smith, the mic is yours.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, from an environment standpoint, first and foremost, yeah, we need to make it a top priority. I think the solar companies out here have done a really good job in the last several years. They've done a good job trying to get as much sustainability out here. Neil McCulloch didn't make it out here, but I was going to give him a shout out because they're changing the world through solar panels. I think Pueblo West Sustainability and the board is working on many different projects and charging stations and more solar out here. I would love to see, like they've said down there, like recycling bins and trash companies to really help give us an option. So many cities around the United States have recycling options next to their trash can or places that they can take that. And we have not done a great job at that. So I think that needs to be a big priority. In closing, from the bottom of my heart, thank you, Pueblo West. Thank you, all of you students out there, Ms. Erickson. All of these people here, like this is not easy for all these Pueblo West passionate people to sit at these tables and to do what we're doing right now. So thank you for you guys. Thanks for the passion that you have for our community. I told you tonight that my goal is Pueblo West is to be the best version of ourselves. This community is too amazing for more people not to know who we are. If you vote for me, you can count on me doing everything I can for Pueblo West. I will help as best as I can create as many jobs as I can in infrastructure out here. I will help make sure this aquatic center comes to fruition. I will help all we can with the roads and making sure those go to the right places and that we get the right roads fixed. And as the fire station, the safety, there's so many things that you guys approved, and thank you for that. We will help make sure that comes to fruition. The safety of our community is a top priority. And we will help with the water, the future, and all of the challenges that we will continue to face out here in Pueblo West. Again, vote Matt Smith. If you want to see forward motion, I had to write this down, so I messed that part up, so give me a second here. If you want to see forward motion of our community in Pueblo, Colorado, somebody that owns a business in this amazing community, one of the top employers actually here in Pueblo West. I live out here. I love out here. I'm raising my amazing family out here, my children and my wife. We will fight for the win. I'm not a guy that's just going to talk the talk. I will absolutely walk the walk. I'm honored to serve Pueblo West for the last 4 years, and I would be absolutely honored to serve Pueblo West for the next term. Thanks.
Thank you, Candidate Smith. The next person to have the floor is Candidate Siebold. The mic is yours.
Hello, there we go. So with recycling, that question, I think we need to make it to where we have multiple companies that can come to Pueblo West and offer potentially tax credits for those companies to bring out recycle bins, even start a recycle distribution center. It was just recently in Mexico, and one of the coolest things that I seen there was there were people blowing recycled glass bottles that people had used, and were making art out of them. It was one of the coolest things to see that people were utilizing the resources that they had to not only grow their families, but also their communities and to clean the communities up as well. We have a beautiful community out here with all the different trails, the reservoir. We need to make sure that we do some sort of community cleanup day and make it a big thing. Lastly, in closing, I just want to say thank you to the Pueblo West students, to my family, to all the people that are up here on the panel, we couldn't have all done this without all of our family. To my wife Jackie, to my son Colton, thank you guys for being here. If you want some change, I'm your guy. We'll think yes first and not no. If it's a great idea and it makes sense, we need to look at all options. Vote for Ryan Siebold.
Thank you, candidate Siebold. Our next candidate who will be answering this question is candidate Roberts. Mr. Roberts, you may now have the mic.
Recycling. Back in about 2004 at the Federal Bureau of Prisons, they bought some old composting, recycle equipment and everything. And within the first 2 years, it paid for itself, the equipment and everything, and they made a profit at it. Recycling down in New Mexico. Your trash service is discounted based upon the size of the recycle cart that you request, okay? And then it all goes to a centralized location. And they're wood chipping wood, they're breaking glass for ornamental yard. There's a certain way you can break it so it doesn't have sharp edges. They're selling compost. They're recycling aluminum cans, the cardboard, the plastic, you name it, but it pays back to the community. And that's how they were able to fund a lot of those parks out there too, is that there was a portion of that money that went towards that. And in 2008, when we came to Pueblo West initially, there was recycling out here, and you had to go down to industrial and drop it off. But there was, they would pick it up like once a month, and you had like a green bin and a red bin and a blue bin. Okay, but if you didn't go pick those up from the recycling center and they didn't have your address, they wouldn't come pick it up. So there's got to be some effort from the community to push this forward. It just can't be done by a sole entity in itself. It's a group effort. Okay, it will develop and it will produce money for the community. Okay, we just got to learn how we can partner with our private trash collection and possibly get them to make a run twice a month, okay, and deliver stuff to the recycle center. And they were chopping up tires too for all the rec playground areas, so that way you had rubber in the playground areas, so you don't, your kids and stuff when they're playing, they're not on a hard surface, okay. So there's a lot of ways to approach this recycling. I think with the right grant funding and the right approach and committee efforts, we can push that forward. I would like to thank the school here for putting this on. I want to thank all the candidates for participating. This is tough. I mean, I don't mind doing karaoke, but this is a little bit harder than karaoke. You got to shoot from the hip with some of these answers. I represent change. If it's broke, let's fix it. If it isn't, let's make it better. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Roberts. Next up is candidate Douglas. You may now have the mic.
I think part of waste management is keeping our community clean. Out in the area where I live, one of the major problems is trash blowing all over the place. One ways that we're able to prevent this, because of our wonderful wind in Pueblo West, we need to secure dumpsters, our trash bins, and be able to keep the trash in the trash. Therefore, I would propose, especially in the construction areas where they have large bins, large trash bins, to keep those covered at all times. I would also propose that we have a place closer to Pueblo West and more accessible for being able to drop trash off that is recyclable, that is compost material and reuse those materials. If the ATV or recreational trails was accomplished, I would propose that we use materials that would keep the dust down and be able to protect our environment while they're being ridden. West's a better place and a fun community to live in and raise our families. I feel I have the experience and the forward-thinking ideas to help make Pueblo West a better place to live in. I have no hidden agendas. I'm not looking for any personal gain from this. My only purpose in running for Pueblo Metro Board is to continue to serve God, serve my country, and to serve my community. And last of all, I'd like to thank Pueblo West and the students, just this whole school for putting this on. And I'd like to thank you all for being here and your interest in learning about the different candidates. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Douglas. We will now be moving into our closing remarks.
Hello, Pueblo West community. My name is Jaden Inks, and I'm a senior here at Pueblo West High School. This officially concludes for the 2022 Pueblo West Metro District Candidate Forum. On behalf of the student moderators from Pueblo West High School, our government teacher, Ms. Erickson, and the staff at Pueblo West Metropolitan District, we are grateful to have had the opportunity to host a forum for you tonight. To the individuals and families here today and those watching at home, we hope you were able to develop a greater insight and additional perspectives about your next candidates who will be the voices for our special district. We are grateful this year to host an in-person forum to continue to provide for the people with additional means to navigate the democratic process and emphasize the impact of a grassroots movement. Change on the national and state level does not come easy when discussing political matters. However, political participation, activism, and support on the local level is the stepping stone to create a community that embodies open discourse, opportunities, and hope for the future. We, as the students, are able to transform the education taught in the classroom as our guide to find the depths of our interests through the events, such as this forum. Hosting and moderating this forum is just one way for young adults to stay actively involved, express their newfound passions, and grow as a person and a citizen. The times of crisis surrounding our daily lives may cause us to feel a disconnect between our families, our closest friends, and the greater community. But Pueblo West can use the pressing issues of our time to bring us all back together by being open-minded, collaborating, and listening. Now, it is your time as an educated voter to go out and vote, because it is arguably better to vote with the necessary understanding of your candidates than to simply check a box that you know nothing about. By Tuesday, May 3rd, fulfill your duty and vote. We are a community that is together. Stay safe and healthy, have a wonderful evening, and good night. And then before we end this forum, I just wanted to reiterate there's a candidating event with Pueblo West Metropolitan District Board candidates with the League of Women Voters that is happening April 14th from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. in the Pueblo West High School cafeteria. Again, thank you all for your participation in this forum tonight. I hope you have a wonderful night. Good night.